Holy crap, it's like July 20th, and I just realized I haven't done anything in like 5 weeks, at least over a month. I can't even remember the last time I posted something. So here I am today, episode number 29, July 20th, day like 5,000 of confinement. It's been totally like Groundhog's Day. There hasn't been much going on. And as a result, I kind of lost interest in posting because there wasn't much to say. So can't imagine that was going to be very interesting to look at. But now that some time has gone by, there's definitely been a couple of things that have happened, a couple of major things. And it's time to put something back on YouTube. So here you go, number 29. Well, first of all, as I mentioned in the last video, Ben has gone back to work, which has been great. And as I also mentioned, Nike paid those guys through the entire lockdown. So even though he wasn't working for 2.5 months, he got paid, which was fantastic for him. But anyway, being back at work, he's back at retail out at the outlet mall, and he came home 2 weeks ago just completely flipped out that he had been exposed and he had symptoms and he had COVID, and he came home just pretty worried. And once we kind of calmed him down and assessed the situation, took his temperature, we realized that he hadn't been exposed formally. He had some upset stomach, nausea, and some shortness of breath, which we attributed to an anxiety attack. But he was worried because he had exposed us the night before. Eileen's mom was also here, and a sister was here. So, he potentially exposed 4 family members. So we calmed him down. So we got him up in his room, got him kind of quarantined, got him some food and drink, took his temperature, no temperature. His breathing came down after he relaxed a little bit. We've got him some food, and then kept taking his temperature, no temperature. So we weren't terribly worried, but we called our doctor in the morning, which was a Friday morning. And he came home on a Thursday. It's a Friday that we called the doctor, and the doctor said, "Don't mess around. Just go get him checked. Go to ER, get him tested," which we did, which was a whole adventure in its own. But local hospital treated him really well, got him right in. We couldn't go in with him, but we FaceTimed actually from the car. So he went in with the doctor, got examined, tested. We were in the car talking to the doctor, and ultimately he turned out a negative test, but it was a little frustrating in that one of the nurses said, "Oh, we'll have the results in 4 to 5 hours since you're coming to ER." And then we were told, no, it's going to be within 24 hours. And if we call you, it means within 24 hours, it means you're tested positive. If we don't call you and it's been more than 24 hours, you're negative. So kind of a ass backwards way to do it. And about hour 20, 22, we got sort of frustrated and called and ultimately got to somebody that could give us the news that he had tested negative. So we could all go on our merry way. But that was a pretty hairy 36 hours. And he wasn't worried about him getting it. He said he was worried about us getting it. And of course, we were worried about other people getting it. And long story short, we got to live through the anxiety of a COVID test. And the good news is he didn't have anything. Nobody else got exposed. So it was definitely an interesting twist on this whole situation to put yourself in a firsthand situation and experience that. So. All right, the other bit of good news is baseball is back, at least to some degree. Ben's team, Baden 18U, is playing again. They're practicing. They got a couple of games in here and there. It's certainly not full scale and not normal, but they are getting some playing in. So that's been fun. Sporting last year's jersey, and we've gotten to see some baseball. So it's always fun to see your kid play, and it's been enjoyable. A little bit of normalcy coming back. So as part of baseball coming back, things are still pretty impacted here in King County. So the boys actually had a tournament in Boise, Idaho, and we did not want to fly, didn't feel comfortable doing that. So we had a road trip. Ben took a couple of teammates and left, and Eileen and I left a separate car, stopped in Walla Walla, had a great dinner. We got there kind of late, but had a great dinner at one of our favorite restaurants over there, and then took off early in the morning for Boise. And Boise was a trip. It was a wild, wild west. Not a lot of masks. Checking into a hotel was weird. People over there didn't seem to be too worried about masks and social distancing, even though Boise at the time, and possibly still, was spiking compared to what they had been. Still relatively sparsely populated and relatively minor, or at the low end of all the infections, but there wasn't a great deal of concern. Restaurants were open, you could sit inside. There were some signs here and there that said masks required, but not a lot of people using them. We tried not to use the elevator in the hotel because they were limiting, first of all, they were limiting it to 2 people at a time, but it's a confined space, and as we're checking in, some lady sneezes and goes into the elevator, so yeah, not the best place for us. So anyway, it was warm, it was comfortable. The actual tournament games were weird because a lot of teams from Washington that we knew were there, because that's the only place they could play, and then the only people in the stands wearing masks or into the stadium were Washington people. Again, not a lot of people there concerned about masks. That did change one evening. We had dinner with some friends who live in Boise, and the restaurant was, all the staffers were wearing masks. We wore masks to be seated, and then we were distanced enough apart that we didn't need the mask during dinner, but servers always wore masks. A lot of the patrons wearing masks, and in that area of Eagle, a lot of the older population were certainly wearing masks. We stopped at a grocery store, but in general, not a lot of masks and concern over it in Idaho. So that was a real trip, between the road trip, the driving, which was fun to get out and notice. We know when you leave Walla Walla, there's nothing till you hit Caldwell and Boise, which is 4 or 5 hours away. So there's a whole lot of beautiful country, farm country, which was fun to see and experience, but fun to get away, but very bizarre, strange experience. So kind of kept to ourselves when we got home, quarantined for 4 or 5 days just to make sure, but nothing happened. But very interesting social dynamic and social experience. The other interesting aspect of the Boise trip was living in a much smaller space for a better part of a week. I think we were in Boise for about 5 days, or in a hotel room for 5 days. And here at home, we've got a good sized house, we've got a good sized yard, we can get up and move, and even when I'm working from home, I'm on one floor, Eileen's on another, and Ben is at work or up in his room, so there's lots of space to move and lots of room for each other to work and be. In Boise, we were in a much smaller hotel room, 2 beds, maybe 400 square feet. It was decent size because we had a little kitchen, but after about 3 days, his stuff on that side of the room looked like a bomb went off, and Eileen and I sharing probably 200 square feet, if that, you kind of start to get on each other's nerves, and you get a feel for what people in apartments or really small places must be going through. And we got on each other's nerves pretty good, and there wasn't a whole lot of place to go, because we were either at a ball game, picking up some food, or in the hotel room. We spent a lot of time in the hotel room because, number one, there's not a ton of stuff to do, but we just didn't feel like going out and being in public a lot. So it's good to get home. It was good to have some space and good room to roam and kind of get back to our norm, but it certainly makes you appreciative of having some space and what other people must be going through in smaller spaces. And on the downside, one of the real bummers is we had to cancel yet another trip, our annual vacation to California, to the beach with my family, the Pajaro Dunes trip. One, we didn't know what was going on with baseball for Ben. Everything has been pushed back much later than normal. Normally he'd be done by now or finishing, and we can go to the beach. The beach was a week earlier this year for other reasons, and then the whole pandemic thing. So we just felt like, too much going on, and certainly there's California's in a lot worse shape than we are, so just opted out, and we'll have to do it another time. But that's a bummer, because we all look forward to that trip, hanging out with family, being at the beach, and I could use a week at the beach right now, at least a couple of days sitting there. So that's the bummer. On the flip side, I went fishing with a buddy on Saturday morning, got up early, hit a local stream, which I haven't done literally in years, and it was a blast. I got to get back out there. Very peaceful, very relaxing, very beautiful, and just a good way to start a weekend. So it was a good way, because followed up staying home, not going to the beach. We painted the laundry room for a lot of, if you give them out, it's a cookie reasons. washer and dryer crapped out, so we pulled them out, discovered the floor, we didn't like it, and it was a mess and old and original, so we pulled that out and had some tile put in, new flooring, got a really good deal. And so, if you give a mouse a cookie, he's going to want a new floor, and if you give a mouse a new floor, you're going to have to paint. So we painted, and it's kind of this color here, kind of a light gray. Anyway, looks good, looks clean, and hopefully soon the rest of the project will continue. But so that's about it. I mean, a lot going on. Not a lot for 5 weeks, but a couple of things going on. So anyway, maybe I'll shoot for every couple of days, once a week, to update things. And this week there might be some stuff going on. Hopefully the house project will be continuing. But stay safe, be well, wash your hands, and put that mask on. I want to go to the beach.